Creating a new session or project. Reaper.
To create a new project in Reaper, all you need to do is hit Control-N if you're on Windows or Command-N if you're on the Mac.
Unsaved project Reaper v6.13/x64 registered to Scott Chesworth.
That's me. I can confirm that this is a blank project by hitting down arrow to see if I've got any tracks in my track list.
No tracks.
And I don't. Mr. Hallerton, who is in charge of this project, has told me that I need to configure Reaper to record 24-bit 48K broadcast wave. So I'm going to hit Alt-Enter to go into project settings. This would be Option-Enter if you're on the Mac.
Project settings dialog.
Going to bang away on the tab key for a while. If you're on the Mac side, you'd navigate with voiceover commands in here. And I'm looking for the project sample rate checkbox.
OK, can't save as property page. Project sample rate checkbox not checked.
I'm going to check this.
Checked.
And in the accompanying edit field that's directly after it, let's see what we've got.
Combo box collapsed. Edit. Selected 44,100.
So I'm recording in 44.1 at the moment. I'm going to type over this and replace it with 48,000.
48,000.
Now I'm going to Shift Tab back to the Pages control.
Project Pages tab control.
And hit right arrow here to get to the Media tab.
Media tab selected.
I'm going to be banging away on my tab key again until I find Format for Recording.
OK, can't save. Prop browse. Second browse on recording grouping. Audio format for new recordings. Combo box flat collapsed.
Recording's FLAC at the moment. I need WAV.
WAV.
There we go. And tab a few more times to find the bit depth.
For not set recording grouping. WAV bit depth. Combo box 24-bit PCM collapsed.
That's already set to 24-bit. Slough said broadcast wave though, so tab once more.
Right BWF. Next. Chunk checkbox not checked.
Yes, please.
Checked.
And you can just hit enter anywhere in this dialog when you're happy with your settings to click the OK button.
Unsaved project Reaper v6.1.
Control S or Command S if you're on the Mac will save this project file and all these settings that we've just configured.
Save project dialog MS file name.
Okay, so we're being prompted for a file name. I'm going to call this Creating a New Project. And in this case, I'm already happy with where it's going to be saved, so I'm not going to fiddle around with that. Adjusting that is completely standard on Windows and Mac. I'm sure you know what you're doing. The one thing that isn't standard about this Save As dialog is that there are a couple of additional checkboxes which control whether you want Reaper to automatically create a subdirectory for each project you save, whether you want Reaper to copy any imported media into the project folder for you, or whether you want it to move any media, which will remove it from its original location. Now, if you're on the Mac side, you can reach those additional checkboxes just fine with voiceover navigation. If you're on Windows and you're using JAWS, the Snowman has added keystrokes to his JAWS scripts that will enable you to confirm and toggle the state of those checkboxes. He did it in version 40, so make sure you're using the latest and greatest version of his scripts. Check the help documentation for the scripts to find out which keystrokes to use in this dialog. I'm not a JAWS user, so I don't have them to hand. If you're an NVDA user like me, you can reach these checkboxes with object navigation, but if object navigation isn't in your wheelhouse yet, don't worry, I can show you a quick hack to get you there. So from the file name field, I'm going to tab once.
Save as type, combo box Reaper project files, star.rpp, collapse Alt+T.
And that's fine set as it is, so I'm not going to change it. From here, I'm going to do Control Tab.
Create subdirectory for project checkbox not checked.
And voila, there's our first non-standard checkbox. Control Tab again.
Copy all media into project directory using checkbox not checked.
There's the second one.
Move all media into project directory checkbox not checked.
And there's the third. I don't need to change the state of any of these, so I'm just going to hit enter to save the project.
Creating a new project Reaper v6.13/x64 registered to Scott Chesworth.
And you just heard the title bar is updated to reflect the name of the project that we just saved. One last tip before I go, if you wanted to use these settings by default whenever you create a new project in future, you could do Alt-Enter or Option-Enter once again.
Project settings dialog.
And this time, just a couple of moves into the dialog, we'll find the Save as Default Project Settings button.
OK, and Save as Default Project Settings button.
Hit enter on that sucker, and Reaper will use these settings by default going forward.
Samplitude.
Okay, so we're in Samplitude and we're going to make a new project. So we press the letter E.
E. Set up for new project VIP dialog. Surround setup. Name. Edit. 202000818. Alt+N.
Okay, so this is where we name it. So I'll call it Door Comparison.
Door comparison. Name. Edit door comparison.
Okay, we'll tab.
File path. Button.
Okay, we can select a file path here.
Default project length. 74 radio button checked. 404.
Okay, so the default project length is 74. We've got options there.
Default project length, edit, 74.
We can type in that one.
Presets project template, combo box, Steve, 2 of 2, Alt plus T.
Okay, so the templates gives you, different configurations. You can save your templates here. I've got a basic 4-track project template in there called Steve, which just gives me 4 tracks. As in Samplitude, you can have an audio track and you can make it into a MIDI track and vice versa, and you can put an instrument on any of those tracks.
OK button, Alt plus O.
We'll go by this.
Cancel, help button. Create new project subdirectory checkbox checked.
Okay, so we can create a subdirectory to keep this project in.
File path, read only edit, D, Samplitude project door comparison.
And that would be the path.
Sample rate mixer setup, edit combo, 48000.
Okay, the sample rate is 48, which we want.
Name, edit, door comparison, Alt plus N.
So we're back to the name and we just press enter to create the project.
Enter. Arranger, 1T, 1.
Okay, so it's loaded. We've got our 4 tracks in here. And if you want to change the bit depth in Samplitude, you press the letter Y.
Audio setup dialog, system options.
To go to the system options, and we just tab quickly across here.
Buffer setting, device resolution driver communication 24-bit radio button checked, 2 of 3, Alt plus R.
Okay, so we've got 24 checked, which is what we want. We'll escape.
Closing window, Samplitude Pro X5 suite. Arranger, 1T, 1.
And we're back in the project window, which is called the Arranger.
Logic.
In Logic, to create a new project, you just press Command N.
Choose default button. Choose a project. Create an empty project.
And by default, it will want to create an empty project. Now, this does put you at the bottom of the dialog that comes up.
Choose default button.
So I'm going to use VO left arrow to navigate to the Details group.
Cancel button. Open an existing project button. Details group.
And in this Details group, if I interact, you can set things like your tempo, your audio interface that you want to use for your input and output, and things like that. So let's interact with this.
In detail. Use musical grid. Checked. Checkbox. 120. Segment 0. Slider.
All right, you see that the tempo is set to 120, so you can interact with this and change the tempo.
Tap tempo button.
You can tap in a tempo by just VO spacing in this field.
C. Charlie. Key signature. Pop-up button.
You can change the key signature of the project.
Major. Selected. Radio button. 1 of minor. Radio button. 2 of 2.
So you can select major or minor there after selecting the key.
4/4. Scrubber group.
You can set the time signature for the project. It's in 4/4 by default.
Element 88. Audio input. Pop-up button.
That's where you can verify which audio interface you'd like to use in the project.
Element 88. Audio output. Pop-up button. Sample rate.
And you can set the sample rate for the project right there as well.
96. Pop-up button.
All right. Everything else in this window is going to be for video, so I'm just going to stop interacting here.
Audio details. Group.
By default, it will create a blank project, so unless you want to pick from a different template, you don't have to worry about that.
Choose default button.
All right. So I just hit VO-N to jump to the bottom of this window. I'm going to VO space on choose.
Number of tracks.
And now it's going to ask us for the number of tracks, but it's also asking us what type of track we'd like to start. Logic does not let you create a project with no tracks in it, so it's going to prompt you to add a track right away. So if I press VO home to jump to the top of this window.
Software instrument. Radio button. 1 of 6.
You see we can add a software instrument track to the project. Software instrument track is essentially a MIDI track. If you want to load up a soft synth and play it with a MIDI keyboard, that's the track you're looking for.
Audio. Radio button. 2 of 6.
Audio, that's for recording audio.
Drummer. Radio button. 3 of 6.
Drummer is a track type that is only found in Logic, and it's because there is a soft synth known as Drummer, which you can use to program very realistic drum parts.
External MIDI. Radio button. 4 of 6.
External MIDI is a track type you want to select if you have external MIDI hardware that you want to trigger with MIDI from inside of Logic.
Guitar or bass. Selected. Radio button. 5 of 6.
And guitar or bass is essentially just going to be a audio track with an instance of Amp Designer with a Logic's guitar amp emulator preloaded on the track for you. And you see guitar or bass is what's selected. So if you want to select any other track type, let's say we want to do just a regular audio track.
External drum audio. Radio button. 2 of 6. 1. Content selected. Edit text.
And now it puts us back at the bottom of the window where we can select the number of tracks. If you want more than one audio track, you can change the value here. Also,
number of tracks. Button. Details. Group.
If you interact with this details group, you can set a lot of the same parameters we set on the previous window, as well as you can set what input on your audio interface this will default to.
Button. Number of tracks. 1. Content selected. Edit text.
All right, and then I can just hit VO-N to get to the create button.
Create. Default button.
VO space on that.
Tracks contents. Group. Closing dialog.
And now we have a project created with a single track. So because it didn't prompt you to save it when it was created in the project, if you want to save this project, hit Command S.
Project 1 Logics. Content selected. Save as. Edit text.
And let's give this a name.
Selection A. W. DA. COMPARISON.
And now I'm just going to use VO right arrow to navigate for this window.
Tags. Tags. Tag at back. Dimmed. Forward. Dimmed. Button. Group. Menu button.
You see this is a pretty standard save dialog for macOS.
New folder button.
So you can select if you want to create a new folder.
Logic. Where. Pop-up button.
By default, it's going to be saved in your Logic folder in the music folder inside of your home folder.
Show less options. Expanded. Disclosure triangle. Search text field. Blank. Sidebar. Table. No selection. Vertical splitter. Column view. Browser one item. Copy the following files into your project.
All right, so this was what I wanted to get to. This is where you can select what is saved in your project. The one you really got to make sure is checked.
Audio files. Checked. Checkbox.
Is audio files. The rest of these
Sampler audio data. Unchecked. Checkbox.
don't necessarily need to be checked.
Alchemy audio data. Ultrabeat audio data. Space Designer Impulse. Movie file. Unchecked. Include Apple Sound Library content. Organize my project as a.
All right, so the next one is organize my project as, and you can choose a package file, which basically keeps your entire project as one file. So that means if you need to send it to someone, you just need to copy that one file and paste it, and it has all your project data wrapped up in there.
Package. Selected. Radio button. 1 of 2.
And that's the option that's selected by default. I recommend just leaving it unpackaged.
Folder. Radio button. 2 of 2. New folder button.
That's if you want to create a new folder to save this project in. We don't need to do that, so we'll just keep navigating to the save button.
Cancel button. Save button.
There we go, VO space.
Now in. Dot comparison. Tracks. Window. Tracks contents. Group.
Pro Tools.
In Pro Tools, pressing Command N.
Create new dashboard window. Edit text content selected. Untitled. Edit text content selected. Untitled.
Let's name this
Selection replaced. DAW.
Comparison.
Comparison.
Okay, now I'm moving across with VoiceOver.
Jarls. Create. DAW. Recent 2. Local store. Collaboration. Project 3. Create from template. Template group. Flow tools. Templates. File type. BWF.wav. Pop-up button.
Okay, that's file type.
Sample rate. 48 kilohertz. Pop-up button.
That's what we want.
Bit depth. 24-bit. Pop-up button.
And that's also what we want. Vo end.
Create button.
Let's create.
Press. Dim. Save. DAW comparison. Content selected.
By the way, you can save to a default location, but I'm actually specifying.
Add. Back. Forward. Group. New folder. Magma 1. Where? Pop-up
Okay,
button.
that's where I want it.
Save. Default button.
Okay.
Press save. Mix. DAW comparison. Window. Tracks. Pro Tools has new window.